excited first to welcome my co-host, Paul Hollis, author of the Hollow Man series, owner of Hollow Man Publishing, and also American Made VA. Paul, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest.
I am. Thanks for having me on as your co-host. But I'm really excited today to welcome Jennifer Spears to our show. She is actually a film producer, a philanthropist, and an ambassador. So welcome, Jennifer.
I'm glad to be here.
So, Jennifer, tell me specifically how it started with filmmaking and all that stuff. How long ago did that start for you?
Well, I've always been in the arts, even my dad had a church in the Bay Area out of San Francisco. And I always loved putting the productions together, putting the plays together. So I think it's always been in me, creative ideas, creative writing. Used to write songs as well when I was about fourth, fifth, sixth grade and sing. Never dreaming, to go into Hollywood to do films, but it started about 10 years ago. I actually was doing music production at first, and doing concert benefits. And then I started to get the idea that I would turn books into films. So I was approached. I started working with some people in Bollywood actually, and trained under them for about a year. And it was just, I met somebody at a mutual friends. We started talking and I was like, this is something I really want to get involved with. So then I ended up, my friends that was on one of my teams, because I do orphanage work in India. She said, my brother works with Sony, been there like 20 years. Why don't we go down to LA? So I presented him with some books to be turned into film. And then from there, I met Yvette Havashi. She was a producer with Warner Brothers, and we just hit it off. So about 3 years, I trained under her. And then I ended up opening my own company, Life Kingdom Productions, doing faith-based films and just doing all kinds of different films with different teams in the United States. After COVID, things kind of changed, for all of us. A lot of studios in Hollywood shut down. So I went back east, working more in Georgia, Florida, Indiana. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. Still on the journey, but I
So
love the
more so
creative part of it.
right. So are you working mostly in faith-based films, your production company?
Yeah, I do have a couple action films as well. Semi sci-fi, a few, but most of them are like redemption stories, true life stories that people wrote books that were turned into films on justice, as well. We're doing a couple documentaries on human trafficking, was with my team last night. So there's a good variety of different type of films that we're doing right now.
So tell me specifically enough how you go out to fund these films. Do you go out and raise money yourself, or does it depends on each project?
Well, I have really good Jewish business partner, and he's opened a lot of doors for me. He's been in the industry like 30 years. So I got very fortunate. Thank you, Stuart. And he's opened those gates with different types of investors. I was on call this morning. So we are actually trying to work with Lionsgate and Angel Studio for distribution. So I've packaged it with them. And yeah, we are in the talks of getting fully funded with some investors out of New York. And usually they're capital venture companies. They understand the film industry. So it's as you guys might know, film financing is very difficult. It's a small percentage, but I'm lucky to have good business partners around me as well.
And it's about the project, and it's about who it is and who you get to the right people. It's the same thing as anything else. And then what are the investors going to get in the return on investment? I think it's the best opportunity for filmmakers today and documentary makers is the fact that there's missing a lot of content not out there because of the strike, right? And now you got to fill all of it in.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, as independent faith-based, like the strike did not
It didn't
actually
hurt
affect
faith-based,
us.
right?
Yeah,
But what
we're
about like
still like,
depending if you're thinking Pure Flix or something, that didn't hurt, but ultimately other platforms it did.
oh yeah. Yeah, and there's so much pre-production, so we still been working, behind the scenes. Of course, there takes 4 to 5 months before you're, filming. But yeah, I work with about 4 different other producers on my team too in Canada and the United States. So I've just been lucky to collaborate with great people. And I think content is changing. People are wanting something different besides Marvel. They're wanting good storytelling again. So
Yeah, but
that's where my lane
there's
is.
a real hurt on every streaming platform where people are like going crazy right now. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the opportunity comes. And who would have thought a 6-month, 9-month strike would have destroyed Netflix's library, destroyed Amazon's library, and destroyed even Peacock's library? There's not much out there new on any of these streaming platforms I'm mentioning, or Hulu. So when do you expect any of that stuff to be filled back up again with content?
Well, what's interesting is we have so much content, even like besides my team. I mean, one of our teams together in New York, there's like 237 films ready to go. So I think by next Christmas, 2025, you'll just see a lot. I think people are wanting different streaming platforms as well. Of course, the theaters, I'm hoping people go back to theater because I'm very passionate about that. I know live streaming is, really took a big chunk out of that, but I hope people, find interest going back in theater.
Well, let's talk about the theaters. The biggest blockbusters are working are Christian films. The Chosen, again, just how it sells out always. And some of these other Christian films, the faith-based really has the opportunity to take an indie film, take it to specific theaters and have great success with not a very gigantic budget because of the fan following, because of the community.
Yeah, I mean, when I realized that, because I was doing more secular pre-production films, but then I realized there was such a niche for the faith-based. And even where I flew, like if I went to Florida, if I went to Georgia, they were all working on these different types of film, these content, centered around faith-based, inspirational films, live, true stories. Some of mine, like there's one story called A Mother's Prayer. It's a former gang member come out of San Quentin. Very powerful story. The budget is like 5 to 7 million. So, and I see it doing return for 85 million. So they're great, and that's what the investors like.
All right. What is the latest projects you have you can talk about? Do you have something to talk about?
Yeah, I have Vessel of Light. That is a really powerful script, is ready to go. We'll probably be filming in a couple months in Florida. That is based on a true story. This woman approached me through a mutual friend, and she actually was abused by her stepfather. And so she's telling her story. Very powerful. I think it will have a big effect on a lot of people's healing, that have gone through that. So she wants to be a voice of change, get on different talk shows. So yeah, that's one film. And then I have another film, the Levi Strauss story. That script has already won an award actually in Switzerland. And it's based on the Levi Jean story,
Oh, wow.
what was going on during that time and how, it got started, who the partner is. Very fascinating historical story. So yeah, those are a few.
All right. Best place people can find information on you. Where can they go, Jennifer?
Facebook, of course, I've got Live Kingdom Productions, Jennifer Spears on Facebook. So
Awesome. We appreciate you stopping by.
yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.